Once Human is coming to mobile, and if you're just starting your journey and are looking for a beginner's guide, then look no further than here. I have been playing this game since launch and have around 2,500 hours in this game on PC, though don't worry, the game is exactly the same whether you play it on mobile or not, and this is the ultimate beginner's guide you'll need for Once Human. And as always, my videos are timestamped, so if you come back for a rewatch, you can directly skip to the section that you wish to recheck. Also, if you like what you see, then consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel, as I will be uploading more guides. With that said, let's get right into it. So to play the game, you will want to select a scenario/season to play with, so let's start with server explanations, which are called scenarios. There are currently 5 types of scenarios you can join: Evolution's Call, Memetics, Memetics Novice, The Way of Winter, and Prismverse Clash. If you're just starting to play the game for the first time, then I would highly recommend you to start with Memetics Novice servers, as there aren't extra game mechanics that might make your stay unenjoyable. Now, Evolution's Call, Memetics Novice, and Prismverse Clash all play on the southern side of the Nalcott map, whereas the Way of Winter server plays on the northern side. Also, Evolution's Call and Prismverse Clash are PvP servers, whereas all the others are all PvE servers. So if you don't want to PvP, then don't play these two. Now, Evolution's Clash is like a free-for-all between different warbands kind of PvP, whereas Prismverse is like a one-on-one big warband fight. Now, each scenario has different phases, so here I am in a Memetics server, so if we take a look at all of the scenario phases, you'll see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this old one, and pretty much each scenario has different phase durations, and they all unlock different game feature and content, so make sure to take your time to read those. For instance, here in the second phase of this server, all areas of the map are unlocked. Now, skipping to the last phase, this is where the scenario will merge with another one, so you can choose to just wait in the server until the merge, or just straight up sign up to a new one, where all of your resources will be sent to a special place called Eternaland, which I'll go into later in the video. But yeah, that's the gist of scenarios in this game. Moving up, another important thing about scenarios are the scenario challenges. These are scenario-specific quests that unlock after a certain phase has been reached. So pretty much completing them gives important rewards, such as Mitsuko marks, specialization cleansers, Astrum crates, ciphers. They also give a banner and avatar frames. I'll talk about how important these rewards are later, but starting with the Mitsuko marks, obtaining via these quests will go towards the threshold rewards here, and they are important resources that can be used in the challenge shop as well. So with Mitsuko marks, you can buy stuff such as decorations, you can buy name cards, which I don't think it's really a good buy, a good purchase. What you really want would be the scenario exit cards here, should you desire to exit your scenario before the scenario reaches its last phase. And of course, you would also want to buy the wish stone, which is an important item that I'll talk about later. But in line with scenario quests, there are also commissions that unlock each phase and can be accessed via summoning V, clicking with it, and then clicking on View Commissions. If you are a new player, these can be an important source of resources, such as XP to level up, energy links, and a stellar planula, which I'll dive into later. So now that you are inside the game, you will want to, of course, be able to craft stuff and also be able to build stuff. And to make that happen, you will want to head into your Memetics. So there will be a tab called Memetics Cradle. You will open the Memetics tab, and this is where you unlock stuff in order to craft them. They are separated in 4 sections: infrastructure, crafting, logistics, and lastly, building. Now the game does walk you through this in its tutorial, so I won't dive into it too deeply, but this is just essentially where you learn crafting and building recipes, and in order to learn these memetics, you will need ciphers obtained from the phase challenges. So scenario challenges, right here, for this one, I'm getting 40, I'm getting 40 again here, from getting the Mitsuko mark thresholds. Another thing about those is that some memetics will be time gated. So for instance here, if I check out all of the memetics in this section, in the Transcendence section, I view details, If I read here, you'll see that it'll unlock when the current season reaches Tame the Staroid, which, if I take a look at the phase, it corresponds to the second phase. So the memetics that were part of the Transcendence path, well, they are time-gated. Now, there are also special memetics that you unlock each time you level up by a factor of 5. You are allowed to pick 1 out of 4 each time, and these are Memetics Specializations that allow you to craft better versions of the normal items or buildings available in the normal Memetics tree. So for instance, here I have Gear Workbench Customization, Facility Boost, Gear Workbench Weapons and Armors crafted using the Gear Workbench enjoy plus 30% max durability. And of course, some of these memetics will also allow you to straight up craft special items unavailable in the normal memetics tree. So for instance, if I take a look at this, Explosive on the Go, you will unlock a new formula, Explosive on the Go. When in your backpack, reduce the weight of grenades, Molotovs, cocktail, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. I will probably make a video specific to this and rank all of them, so stay tuned for it. But this is where, once again, you will need to complete scenario challenges, because if I take a look at them, scenario challenges, I will get specialization cleansers, and these are used to reroll memetic specializations if you did not get the one that you wanted. Now, there are also memetics fragments that are memetic specializations, pretty much that you can use to sell or replace the ones you have right now. They can be obtained by doing any dungeon, so monoliths or silos that are located on the map. And if you wish to replace one, you'll take a look. And if, say, I wish to replace a memetics, I'll just take it and show you guys. I'll open my backpack. I'll pick the one that I wanted to replace. And then I can swap out one memetic specialization that I already have for this new one. Now, as for resources, in order to craft items in this game or to build facilities, you will need resources, which means you will need to go loot different POIs, so places of interest across the map. If you don't know where to obtain certain resources, you can tap or hover on the POI icon, and it'll show you the resources you can obtain from them. So for Dayton Hospital, I can find fibers, random scrap, which will correspond to whatever's on the picture, and random crops. But say if I take a look at, let's say, another POI, I'll find fiber, but a higher tier of fiber, random scraps, and platinum crystals. Now, another way to locate certain resources on your map is by clicking on the radar tab on the left side of your screen, and then you will see the ores, which you can track, and crops. So let's say I want to track some tungsten ore, I track it, and it'll show me on the map where they are. But what I meant by tier earlier was essentially the Manibus map is separated in 5 important regions: Dayton Wetlands, Broken Delta, Iron River, Chalk Peak, and Red Sands. Now, I know there is Blackheart region, but that one is pretty much the same as Red Sands since they give the same rarity of loot. And what I mean by loot rarity is in Dayton Wetlands, you'll find tier 1 resources used to craft usually the tier 1 stuff. Broken Delta will give tier 2, Iron River will give tier 3, Chalk Peak tier 4, and Red Sands tier 5. And of course, the better the resource tier, the better the gear or facilities you can build. So for instance, in the memetics tree, if I take a look at the crafting memetics, I have 3 types of workbenches that I can build. So the primary supplies workbench, the intermediate one, and lastly, the advanced one. And if I go to my building UI, and I take a look at the resources needed, I will notice that resources needed are different. So for the primary one, it's log and copper. For the intermediate, it's these ones. And then for the advanced, it's going to be all of this. And of course, a little spoiler here, the same goes to weapons and gears that you can craft ranging from tier 1 to tier 5. So for instance, the tier 1 legendary recoil action requires copper, rusted part, and stardust source, whereas the tier 5 version will require platinum crystal, tungsten ingot, automatic part, and stardust source. Now, one important way that you can use to farm resources are via public crisis events. You may join them via an invitation through chat. So this one I sent in myself. So pretty much if you click on go here, you can join them. or by opening your map, and if you're on a computer, you press X, and you will see all of the possible public crisis events going on your map. And if you are already at the event and want to get people to join you, you can send an invitation by clicking on the event, and at the top right side of your screen, there will be a combat invitation icon that you can click, and it will send the invitation to World Chat. Now, I already have a guide for most public crisis events, so do check it out if you're interested, and I will probably make an updated guide about these too, so look out for it. But essentially, you join the public crisis event, then you read at the top left side of your screen to know what you are required to do. And after completing the event, you will receive resources corresponding to the difficulty of the event, or should I say, the tier of the event. And in short, to know the tier of said event, you're going to want to open your map and check where the event is on your map. So for instance, the Operation Chiron event is in Red Sands. And after completing this event, I will receive tier 5 resources. Of course, you should always do them since they give important mod rewards, which I'll dive into later. But they are also a good source of essential in-game resources, such as energy links, Stardust Source, and Acid. Though do keep in mind that each individual event has a cooldown timer of 1 hour, so don't bother doing the same event multiple times within an hour. And now let's talk about Energy Link, which is a basic currency used for trading in this game and is also important for other stuff, such as teleporting and mod conversions, which I'll probably make a video entirely on its own. But Energy Link can be obtained via multiple different ways, so by completing your commissions right here, or just by doing dungeons and collecting the dungeon rewards. But a special tip I have for this resource is if you look at the map, you will notice that there are 5 settlements, each located in a different region. So there's Deadville in Dayton Wetlands, there's Mayor's Market in Broken Delta, and so on. And in each of these settlements, you will find a vendor with a shopping basket icon. You approach it, and per week, it will allow you to sell stuff to him up to 50,000 EL of value. Now here, I would recommend selling silver or gold bars, which can be crafted after obtaining a certain Memetics Specialization. But the reason why I suggest this is because they are highly valued at a unit price of 6,000 per bar. Besides from that vendor, there are also special vendors at the settlements. So there's going to be Nisa, which I won't talk about in this video, because I would like to focus on Severin 7. So Severin 7, the reason why I want to focus on him is because he trades for Stellar Planula, which is a resource that you can get by either playing the game and unlocking these rift anchors across the map, or depending on the type of server that you're in, by completing scenario challenges. Of course, there are also other ways to obtain said resource, but I just want to go through what he sells. So he will sell certain type of weapon attachments, which you can use to make a weapon more usable. You can, of course, also buy Asterism Crate, and then there's also mods and mod parts that you can buy, but I'll dive into mods later in the video. Now let's quickly talk about transportation. So the map is pretty big in this game, and unless you like to waste time driving from one place to another, you will want to unlock teleportation towers, which are scattered throughout the map and look like this. On the map icon, they'll look like this. So to unlock them, you approach them, and then you press F if you are on PC. On mobile, it's probably just going to be an icon pop-up of the same kind that you'll have to press. And in order to teleport to those teleportation towers, you will either have to be at your base, or you will have to be standing near one teleportation tower. So for instance, if I wish to teleport here, I can do it right now, but say if I just leave it, if I just stay here, I will lose the ability to teleport to it. Now, if you wish to teleport, it will also cost you an amount of energy link depending on your distance to the tower you wish to teleport. So to this teleporter, it'll cost me 107 energy link, but say if I want to teleport to one that's really far away, it'll cost me 568 energy link. But do note that teleporting to your base does not require you to be at a teleportation tower. So if I just leave this area, you'll see that if I take a look at my base location, I am still allowed to teleport to it. And also, if you are in a hive, so in the Get United tab and clicking on the hive tab, if you play with other people in the same hive, then you will have access to their base's teleport. So for instance, this is my base right here, but this is my hive mate's base, which I can teleport to, this one as well, this one as well. This, however, does not extend to people in the same warband as yours. Teleportation towers are also the way to switch worlds, so say if you wish to put your base in a different world, you can approach one, press G if you are on PC, and you can swap to the designated world that you wish to live in. Now let's move on to gears. This world is filled up of deviants and enemies, so you'll want to be geared up to face them. So let's start with blueprints. So to craft the weapons and armors that you want to use, you will need to unlock their respective blueprints. Some weapon and gear blueprints can be found via opening mystical crates in POIs, which by the way, they do not reset, so if you wish to reopen them again, you'll have to swap scenario or just server, and each POI will always contain one mystical crate containing blueprints. But in order to unlock every piece of gear, you will want to build this thing right here, which is called a wish machine. And this will be the main way to obtain blueprints that you want. So you can make a wish, which is pretty much rolling for blueprints. So if you've played any gacha games before, you will be familiar with that system. There will be banners at the bottom of the screen. And so here, Echoes from the Rift is the default banner. So it's pretty much, you have Starchrom right here, which is the main currency used to roll or buy blueprints. And pretty much if I play, hit and spend 500 Starchrom to win rewards, and the reward being a certain blueprint at random. You see here, after rolling 20 times, I'll get extra shard, so legendary gear blueprint fragments, and there is a guaranteed one legendary weapon blueprint, one purple weapon blueprint, one epic armor blueprint, and all of the other stuff. And this right here is where the wish stone is going to be very important, because right here I can add a wish. And what pretty much it means is that I can select a certain blueprint to be guaranteed in the loot pool. However, it's going to cost me a wish stone. And where do you get the wish stone? Like I said previously, you can buy it from the challenge shop in the scenario shop. So I go to scenario challenge, I open the challenge shop, and it'll be in the others section. And of course, just like any other gacha games, there are weapon and gear banners that go on for a certain period of time. So this one right here for the MG4 Predator, opening time from April 9th to April 30th. Same for the Osis Mask and for the Raining Cash. So these will go on for a certain period of time in which you will be able to spend Starchrom to roll for. So it's pretty much just a gacha game system. Or of course, you can also directly buy the blueprint you want via the blueprint shop. So if I press G, I will have access to every single blueprint in the game. Well, to the very least, the weapons and armors that you can craft. But of course, to do any of that, you will need Starchrom, which, like I said previously, is the important currency to unlock blueprints. And to get that resource, you have one main way of getting it, and it will be via the Stellar Stairway. And here is where the Astrum crates become important, which are the crates that you obtain from completing scenario challenges. So right here, Astrum crate obtained, open to obtain, Asterism 500. And so pretty much the Stellar Stairway is a system where you collect Asterism. Asterism can be obtained from the crates or by literally doing anything in the game. And so by obtaining Asterism, you will reach a threshold reward. So for instance, here at 30,000 Asterism, I will get 600 Starchrom. At 31,000, I get 600 again. And so it'll go all the way up to 66,000 Asterism monthly. So this system is a time-gated thing which resets each calendar month, rewarding a lot of Starchrom. But as you can see here, right now at the time of recording this video, this system will reset in 8 days and 17 hours. And I still haven't collected the last reward, but pretty much the last reward gives 12,000 Starchrom, which is a lot. So this is pretty much just the main way to obtain Starchrom, but there are also other ways to get Starchrom. So if I go in the Events tab, so on PC you just press Escape, press F3 or just click here, I go to events, I click on the more tab, you will see that if I scroll down, you can link an email to your game account to obtain Starchrom. This is also a monthly thing. You can also link your Discord account. And of course, there are also one-time Starchrom rewards for subscribing or just following the official Once Humans social media accounts. So here they've got YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And sometimes there will also be surveys at the bottom tab right here, which will also reward a small amount of Starchrom. Another way to obtain Starchrom would be via the Battle Pass. So if I go to Shop Events tab, click on Battle Pass, I can see that at level 5, I'm getting 1000 Starchrom. At level 15, I'm getting another 1000 Starchrom, and I'm going to get more along the way. And lastly, redemption codes can also be given if there is an official Once Human live stream. But back to blueprints, each weapon or armor blueprint corresponds to a certain type of blueprint fragment, as seen at the right side of my screen here. So we've got Huntsman blueprints, Wanderer blueprints, Operator blueprints, and so on. And you will need corresponding blueprints type to upgrade them. So what I mean here is if I wish to upgrade this Bingo blueprint, I will need to use Huntsman blueprints, and I cannot use a Wanderer blueprint to upgrade the Bingo. So if I take a look at my Jaws blueprint, let's say I go here, I right click it, and I try to enhance it, I can only use the corresponding type of blueprint, which will be Beyonder. And of course, ideally, you use the corresponding weapon or gear's blueprint to upgrade them, since they give more XP per blueprint shard used. So for instance, if I try to use this, you'll see that it says same name fragments provide XP times 2. So instead of providing 30 XP, it gives 60 XP when I try to upgrade the blueprint. Now, once you actually go to craft your gear, you will notice that there are different tiers that you can craft, ranging from tier 1 to tier 5, and the higher the tier, the better the weapon. So, for instance here, for this Jaws pistol, if I craft it at tier 1, it will only deal 128 damage per bullet, but at tier 5, it'll be 751 damage. Now, this is also gated by your level. So if your level is too low, you won't be able to use a higher tier weapon. And the corresponding levels are level 10 to use tier 2, level 20 to use tier 3, level 30 to use tier 4, and level 40 to use tier 5 weapons. And the same, of course, goes to armor crafting. And now once you've crafted your gear, you will also want to calibrate them, which will increase their damage if it's a weapon, or it'll increase its HP and psi intensity if it's a piece of gear. So for weapons, the more you calibrate it, obviously the more damage you'll do, but you will also unlock calibration slots, which are here. So for instance, if I calibrate it 4 times, I will unlock the first calibration substat. If I calibrate it 7 times, so at level 7 or whatever, I'll unlock 10% crit damage, and at calibration level 10, I will unlock elemental damage. So if I just demonstrate here, calibrate it once, twice, 3rd time, and 4th time, you'll see that I get range plus 12 and accuracy plus 6. You can also assign a specific calibration to them, which will replace its original calibration attributes and substats. So here I have a few. I could use this one to change the calibration substats and to, well, change them into these ones. Now, calibrations are obtained by recycling weapons that you find in the wild or obtained via dungeons. So if I disassemble this knife right here, I will obtain a melee calibration of speed melee and with its corresponding substats. Now, of course, there is the core effect, which will always be the one at +4, and the substats are going to be random, and they will be unlocked at the +7 and +10 slots. Now, before I go over dungeons, I would like to talk about the next step for your gear, which is very important, which will be the mods. I will not address blueprint conversion in this guide, so if you wish to see one about them, let me know in the comments. But as for mods, they will be the main way of increasing your damage along with your Cradle. So back to the Memetics section, you will unlock Cradle at a certain point in the game after you complete a certain quest. I'm not sure which one it is, but essentially you will unlock Cradle, and they are essential perks that you can slot in your Cradle slots to increase your damage or survivability. The cradle slots will also differ depending on the current scenario that you're in. So for instance, here I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have a total of 25 cradles options that I can pick from. But if you are in a novice server, you might not have as many options. But back to the mods. Mods have to be slotted into your gear to give their bonuses. So here I've got my weapon and I've also got my gear. And mods are separated in two sections, two different type of mods. You've got weapon mods and armor mods, which pretty much means that weapon mods go on the weapon and can only go on the weapon, and armor mods, well, they are separated into also, of course, each piece of gear, and they will only go onto the armor slots. I have compiled a full mod list in my Excel sheet with their descriptions and locations, so check it out. It'll be linked in the description. But I will dive more in details into them in another video, but the gist of it is they are to be equipped to increase your damage or survivability. And you can obtain these mods from armor and gear crates scattered across the map, and by doing dungeons. And speaking of dungeons, they are separated in two different categories. You've got monoliths, which have this icon over them, and you have silos, which have this icon. And this is pretty much the endgame content of Once Human, as the endgame content is pretty much just maxing out your mods. And this is where you go to get weapon calibrations, energy link, amongst with other important resources, mods and mods parts. And they will also all have different difficulty levels. So for silos, they will range from normal all the way up to nightmare. Of course, the higher the difficulty, the better the rewards. Moving on to deviations, they are pretty much Pokemons like this that are essential for making your life easier. Some of them will be combat deviations like this one, and some of them will be farming deviations like this one. They are all obtained via multiple different ways, which all depends on the deviation itself. But if you wish to know which deviation does what, even if you haven't unlocked them, you can go to the scenario description. So if I go in my scenario here, scenario description, you click on scenario features, and if you scroll down, you will be able to read the description of most deviations available in the game. Now, unfortunately, it will not provide the full list, even if every deviation in the game can be unlocked in any scenario. But if you want to see a more detailed guide about them, let me know in the comments. But one important tip I have is that in each settlement, there is a deviation container that refreshes once every 24 hours, starting from the moment you loot it, in which it can contain any deviation from the game, which can be a nice way of obtaining rare deviations. Now, a little bit more about the deviations. They will come in different skill rating, activity rating, and traits. So pretty much the skill and activity rating go from 1 to 5, and usually the higher it is, the better it is. So for instance, for this fighting deviation, the higher the skill rating, the higher the damage bonuses that it gives will scale. And for traits, they can be positive or negative, so make sure to read them to know what they do. And deviations also have securement environment preferences, so make sure to fulfill them if you want to boost your deviation's power and mood recovery. So for instance, for this Pyro Dino, it wants to be under green light, have a toy around, and to be in a warm environment. And here I have fulfilled them all, and if I check what it does, deviant power and mood recovery speed increases by 6% during dormancy if I have green light on it. And here I've got the green light built up thanks to the, oh, there's a crocodile here, but essentially thanks to the Memetics in the building section in the basic furniture 2, you will unlock all of the different light colors. But yeah, this is my ultimate Once Human's beginner's guide. If you learned something or wish to see more Once Human content, make sure to subscribe to my channel, turn on the bell for notifications, and to like this video. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment down below, and I will try to reply in the shortest delay possible. And with that, this is Mon, and I'll see you in my next one.